Well, Greg, appreciate it as always. And first of all, a massive shout out to the two new champions that were crowned over the weekend, because last night we watched the Carolina Hurricanes get it done. Game 6 with a 3-0 shutout against the Vegas Golden Knights, capturing their first Stanley Cup in 25 years. I think the last time was when Rob Brindamore was actually a captain on the Carolina team back in 2006, I believe. And then you've got an even bigger shout out happening to the New York Knicks, who pulled off another ridiculous second half comeback to capture their first NBA championship in 53 years? Yes, Madison Square Garden was rocking, in and around New York was rocking, and those fans deserve every bit of it. But we also have to talk about the adult-infant crisis that is facing the future of the NBA right now. Because while New York is celebrating, and rightfully so, yeah, we've got to talk about the man who is supposed to be now the future face of the NBA. That's Victor Wembanyama, who showed us another level of immaturity and unlikability throughout this entire postseason run. And look, I get he is only 22 years old, and he has probably been told that he's the greatest thing since ice cream his entire life. But what makes you an adult and a true leader of men is how you carry yourself through adversity. And all we saw from this 7'4" alien was a whole lot of crying and a whole lot of dirty play, because it started in Minnesota when he elbowed Naz Reid into oblivion. It continued into the Western Conference Finals when he checked out in a blowout loss to literally order the rest of his teammates to go out, watching Game 2, disappearing the second half of Game 4, and, of course, scoring less than 20 points in an elimination game. But his play came so close to being declared reckless on multiple occasions. He was intentionally fouling Brunson, coming down on guys' legs, and relying on cheap shots because, well, he just couldn't handle the defense and the grit of the New York Knicks. And the league office just continues to make excuse after excuse for him. But the absolute kicker is what happened at the end of Game 5. When the buzzer sounded and his team officially lost the finals, you think Wemby hung around to shake the hands of the players that just beat him? Nope. He beelined it right back to the locker room like a spoiled child. And then he has the nerve to sit in the press room and tell the reporters that the Spurs dominated much of the series and likely should have won. Yeah, I get it. Check the scoreboard. You got bounced out in 5. And Adam Silver needs to figure this out. Who is going to be the next face of the NBA? Because LeBron, he's preparing for his farewell tour. And because if this is the guy that is supposed to champion this league, the NBA could be in major trouble here. Wemby's got all the talent in the world, but he has a long way to go, Craig, before he becomes a real leader of men. Keep an eye on what the NBA does here in the very near future.
And that's where we begin on today's show with the Knicks winning the championship. Joe Ranieri, we're going to have to pull some old videos of him when he was 22. I'd hate to see those.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, a tough finish for Wemby. And I want to see those Ranieri 22-year-old videos too. Listen, I understand where you're coming from, Joe. And Wemby just all sour, all poor at the end. Yep. I can't take any exception to that. But what I would say is we got to give this kid a little more time to get his life together, to get his act together, and all those things. Like, I mean, this was as bad as a final as you can ever remember a team having in the way that they lost. Am I wrong about? I mean, to have those leads and blow them all, and you certainly can speak to it more than me because you're watching the games closer than I am. I don't feel bad for the player. I'm just saying that it's tough for me to indict a 22-year-old kid going through it for the first time. That's my point. Am I totally off there? You tell me. You watch it closely.
No, and I'm saying he's 22 years old. Right? He's got a lot of growing up to do. But the problem is, my fear is he is surrounded by a bunch of people are going to tell him how right he is.
That's fair. That's fair.
This is okay. The NBA is supposed to be the adult in the room, but they have let him get away with this time and time again. I don't remember a 19-year-old LeBron or a Michael Jordan or a Kobe. Sure, they were mad and angry as all hell. They didn't win. but they were a lot more leader-esque than what we saw from Wemby in these games against the Knicks.
Yeah, interesting take here. That's why we have Joe here to weigh in at the beginning of the show. I got to defer to Joe on a lot of this stuff too, folks, because I'm so wrapped into baseball that it's like recap city for everything else for me here on the show. But before we go any further, let's flip the script here. It is a Monday. We got to be positive here. The Knicks did win the game. Let's hear from Jalen Brunson after the Knicks win that championship postgame.
Question is, do I be myself or do I That's my MVP! Yes, sir! No shower.
Jalen Brunson, the Knicks take the Larry O'Brien trophy, which showed back up on the court for the first time this year, by the way, on the floor, which I thought was cool as well. All right, so your World Cup fix, for those of you who are into this, it's all day long, it's all night long, several matches per day. So certainly the bet button is going to be very heavy this week, I think, on that. And Germany starts off with a 7-goal win in Curaçao. Wow, 7 goals. That's one of the most you're going to see, I would guess, Joe. Now, I could be wrong. I don't think any other country is going to score 7 goals in a game. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, it was impressive, but it also looked like maybe Curaçao threw in the towel there, Craig, a little bit there in the second half. So it was impressive. Don't get me wrong, they were good. They were even a whole lot of fun to watch, but at one point that game just got so ridiculous it felt like a lot of guys just threw their hands up in the air there in the end.
The U.S. Open is coming up this week. Brooks Koepka withdrew from the Canadian Open, so certainly his return to the U.S. Open and the PGA Tour, of course, which he rejoined after bailing on LIV, is in doubt. Also at Roland Garros this weekend, unfortunately, because all the big names were knocked out, we got the worst viewed final in how long here? 1.3 in the last 20 years? Wow. Zverev faced off with somebody named Flavio Cobolli. I can pretend to know who that is, Joe. I'm not going to try and fake everybody out on that one. I guess there's a reason why we want to watch stars play in our championships.
Yeah, especially a year removed, Craig, where I think we had Sinner and Alcaraz in like a 12-set marathon where it was amazing. And then, like you said, we got some dude named Flavio in there and nobody's watching.
Yeah. James Harden arrested in Texas. So, of course, as part of that arrest, he will request a trade. No, I'm just kidding. That has nothing to do with it. We'll take a quick break here on the early line. We'll be back with more next. Don't go away. Welcome back to the early line here on SportsGrid. Hope everybody's Monday is off to a good start in the city of New York. It's off to a great start. The Knicks are NBA champions. Craig Mish, Joe Ranieri here for the next hour, covering everything here with you. It's the first time in 53 years that the Knicks have taken home the Larry O'Brien trophy. That's a great place to start. Guess what? The Knicks were down again in this game, in case you missed it, down 10 with 8 minutes to play this time. Came back to win and win the championship. So let's start off and hear from Mike Brown, the head coach of the Knicks, on taking home the title.
First of all, it's just a heck of a win. You know, to have the fans that we have in New York City and be able to bring home a championship after all these years is absolutely amazing. It's a surreal feeling. I don't know how long it's been since that final buzzer went off, but I still don't believe it. I'm pinching myself. I'm telling myself to try to be present. All the stuff that I tell these guys every single day, I'm trying to do because I can't believe it. I'm happy for Mr. Dolan, happy for Leon Rose, our players. Our players are great. I mean, you can see it now. These guys are fantastic. I love them all. They had been ready from day one, and not just our top 5, but 1 through 18 have been ready for day one. You guys saw it. We called on different guys at different times, and every time we called on somebody, they stepped up. So I love my players, love the organization, but more importantly, let's go New York. Let's go New York. We can't wait to get back home to celebrate.
And meanwhile, Karl-Anthony Towns, also one of the stars for the Knicks, certainly got himself into some foul trouble, but let's not take anything away from Cat. He was a big part of the playoff run that got them to the NBA Finals. I don't want to discount him. Here's Cat on winning it with 2 rookies and what that meant.
A huge shout out to Al Horford, who really inspired me to do this. I got my 2 rooks up here, you know what I'm trying to say? This is awesome, man. This is what it's all about. They get this experience. You know, it's a lifetime work for me. 11 years. They got to see this in 2 years. And 1 year for you, for real. Hey, that's crazy. Rookie year, man. I remember when I came in #1 pick, I thought I had a chance at it. I was lying to myself because I needed 11 years to do it. But, you know, God is good. It's all happening. Like I just said, I thought in my first, second year I would get one, you know, after having a successful high school and college career. You never know how truly hard it is to get to NBA Finals. But for them, God's timing was different for all of us. For him, it was 1 year. For him, it was 2 years. For me, it took 11 years, a lot of ups and downs in my career to get to this point. And I'm glad I'm able to provide Dominicans around the world with this moment, New York Knicks fans around the world with this moment, these rookies, my young fellow over here, and Ariel. You know, I'm just super happy and excited that this is a worldwide celebration for everybody.
All right, Joe, so let's put a bow on the Knicks championship. I think it's obviously fantastic for them. I don't think there's any question that they deserve all the credit. They were, going into the finals, the hottest team in the NBA playoffs. They were scoring more than any team and then kept it going, and they had this undefeated streak as well. And so I think people forget about that, maybe taking away from the fact that the Spurs blew some of the games. Yes, I think that is true, but the team has to come back and win too. I think they forget about that. Remember, if the Spurs just flat out blew it and the Knicks didn't score, the Knicks would have lost as well. So taking nothing away from the Knicks, congratulations to them, a title well deserved.
And it wasn't this wasn't just the series in which they showed that no lead was safe with them, that if you didn't bury and finish the Knicks, they were going to come back to haunt you. And we saw them do it against, Atlanta. We saw them do it against the Cavaliers. And boy, oh boy, they showed it in every way in the finals. So great team. Unfortunately, nobody ever gave them any credit. It looked like everyone just assumed the Western Conference, whoever came out of it, OKC or the Spurs, was just going to steamroll whoever came out of the East. And, well, I guess that's why they end up playing the games anyway there, Craig. And the Knicks, they played better than anybody in the postseason. And now they're champions for the first time in 53 years. Just crazy to think.
Yes, great for the city and certainly great for the team, because the Knicks have been one of those teams through the years that have not gotten over the hump. They've gotten close, but not won championships, but this time had some clutch players and ended up getting it done. Meanwhile, the hockey season's also over. The Carolina Hurricanes take care of the Stanley Cup Finals by beating the Las Vegas Golden Knights, and they win the championship for the first time in 20 years. 3-0 was the final on to the start, and then the final was 4-2. Let's hear from Jordan Stahl, who picks up a Stanley Cup title.
That's a lot of years. I mean, it's amazing. It's just something I've been going after ever since we got the first one. I mean, you want to win it again and again and again, and what a feeling, what a battle the boys were grinding today. My goodness, what so many individual efforts just to keep the puck out of our net, and it was an amazing ride, and I'm just so proud of these guys.
What did you
Joe, a great run for hockey and a great run for the NBA. What's unusual about this time of the year is that, generally speaking, when these end, shows like ours and sports betting, prognosticators generally just move their attention all to baseball. But this time around, Joe, we have the World Cup. And speaking of which, Germany ended up putting a 7 spot on Curaçao over the weekend. It's the most goals scored thus far in the World Cup, although I think Spain may have something to say about that later today.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's going to be also interesting there. But a heck of a start. It feels like, Germany was kind of the odd team out. A lot of people spending so much time talking about France and England and Spain that, oh, yeah, Germany has done pretty well in these world competitions over the years. And they certainly have some firepower there. So it's going to be interesting to see what the markets do with Germany next, because Well, recency bias could be alive and well with the odds when it comes to Germany in their next match. So keep an eye on them. But they're very much alive to do some damage here in the World Cup.
Meanwhile, Brooks Koepka is out of the Canadian Open and now may not play in the U.S. Open. This is a player that, of course, defected from the PGA Tour, Joe, and then ended up going to the Live Golf Tour, which seemingly is, failing. I don't know what's left to say about Live Golf, but they're probably winding down. I guess that's probably fair to say this year. We'll find out if Koepka ends up playing in the U.S. Open this week. And Father's Day, of course, is coming up Sunday. It's always a fun weekend as well. Joe, I guess I'm going to guess that you're not one of those 1.3 million people that watched the French Open on Sunday. I don't know anybody that was. Maybe Greg Sussman. Beyond that, I'm not really sure.
Nope.
We lost the star power here as the French Open. You made a great point. Last year's French Open was like an all-time match at the end, but this year, not as much.
On either side. Even the women's side as well. A bunch of, a 19-year-old, I think, won it this year that nobody had heard of. And, yeah, the men's side, we knew Alcaraz was hurt going in. We thought Sinner was going to be just run away with this and get his first French Open. But, nope, none of that happened. So this is it just goes to show you the star power might be lacking a little bit here in the world of tennis.
Finally, bad news for James Harden. James Harden arrested on a weapons charge here, Joe. Already going to be going through it and a lot of criticism for his on-the-court stuff with Cleveland. James Harden's going to keep playing as long as they give him money and they put a jersey on him. But, man, this is a bad start to his offseason.
Yeah, what are you doing? You know better than this. What are you doing, Harden? Unbelievable. But, okay, let's see. At least nobody's talking about how terrible you are in the postseason. So I guess there's always that, right? Deflect.
And also, we have Team USA winning their first match at the World Cup. Of course, they'll play this week, Joe. They look great.
Really good. And let's hope that it continues there because have a Group D winner ticket on Team USA.
I gave Joe exactly 4 seconds to break down Team USA. That's what a great host does.